Hi readers, welcome to Novels with Nat. In today's video, I thought since I've been posting on here for about 3 months now, I think, I thought it would be a good time to come on and do a little video. It'll be a quick one, just talking about my rating system. I feel like when I'm watching other booktubers talking about books and they're giving ratings, I find it useful when people really delve into what the rating means to them. For example, a 3 star for me might mean something different than a 3 star for someone else. So I thought we could just chat really quickly about my rating system, what I feel like a 3 star represents, a 4 star, a 5 star, and all of that. Just to get a sense of how I rate my books. Before we get to the video, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and thank you so much to anyone who has already. Okay, so I anticipate this will be a very quick video. I'm just going to go through 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and just tell you what that means to me, what would qualify as each of those star ratings, and the type of books that I would be putting in those ratings. I'm not going to talk about the half ratings. I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory if you understand what a 1 star and a 2 star is. If it's a 1.5, it's somewhere in between those two. So I'm not going to get that nitty gritty into the details. I'm just going to go through like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4, 5, and talk about what those ratings mean to me. I'm also curious on your thoughts. I've heard some people who don't actually give ratings at all. They find it a little bit, I guess, counterproductive to sort of quantify the value of literature. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I personally use ratings for myself, just to also remember like how I felt about that book at that time. But I also fully recognize that for me, the ratings are not sort of like definitive. Sometimes I'll read a book and I'll give it a 3 star, but if I had read that same book maybe 2 years later, it would have been a 5 star. So it's also time sensitive, where I am in my reading journey, what I'm interested in, as well as the mood that I was in when I picked up the book. Was I in a reading slump? The season that I picked it up in. And so I feel like a rating for me is not necessarily definitive. It's just kind of a marker of how I felt about that book at that point in time. But let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about rating books? So I think we have to start off with talking a little bit about DNFs. I am going to be making a full separate video all about DNFs, and delving into that whole topic. But for the point of this video, when it comes to books I do not finish, I never rate them. I feel like for me personally, I know some people, if they DNF a book, they will rate it 1 star. That's not what I prefer to do. If I don't finish the entirety of the book, I don't rate it. I just feel like it's not truly a genuine rating if I haven't finished the entire book. I'll also say that when I DNF a book, it's usually for one of two reasons. One, it could be that I feel like it genuinely is a bad book, and I just don't feel like reading it. The second reason could be because I can recognize and appreciate that it's a good book, but it just isn't the book for me, or I'm just not in the right headspace to read that book at that time. And so I just don't rate for those reasons. And then if we talk about 1 star books. So I do not give 1 star books very often at all. I would, if I really don't like a book, I'm more likely to give it 2 stars. Because for me, 1 star is basically a book that I hated everything about it. There was not a single thing that I felt was positive. So that's why I would give it 1 star. These are books that I should have DNF'd, but decided to push through. I think, I've been reading for years now, and I would say in all of that time, I've probably only given about maybe 6 or 7 1 stars. So it's not something that I often give, especially because if I can feel that it's going to be a 1 star, I will most likely DNF it before it gets to that point. But sometimes you push through hoping for the best and it doesn't end up turning out the way you want it to. So yeah, 1 star for me means that I hated every single thing about the book and I shouldn't have finished it. And then that kind of leads into a 2 star book. Now, a 2 star book for me is basically a book where, number one, I'm actively bored throughout the entirety of the book and disinterested. But number two, it's a book where I disliked the vast majority of it. However, there was one, maybe two elements that were a little bit redeeming that I did enjoy. So, like, for example, I might hate the entire plot of the book, but sometimes if like the writing style is something that I enjoyed or the prose itself, then I might give it 2 stars. Or, on the flip side of that, it could be that the writing is just absolutely awful and insufferable, but maybe there's like a really good plot twist or really good character development. And so if there's like one redeemable factor with the book, I'll probably give it 2 stars. And then we get to 3 stars. This is, for me, just your average book. It is right down the middle. It is a book that I would say I enjoyed for the most part, but for me, what defines a 3-star book is it is a book that is completely forgettable. It's not a book that I would necessarily recommend to people. It's not a book that I would think about or would remember any of the like character names or plot points or plot twists. It's just completely like, it was an okay time while I was reading it, but then it's out of my mind after I finished it. Now, if we get into the 4-star territory, anything that I give 4 stars and above is where I would start to say that I would recommend the book. So a 4-star is a book that I really enjoyed. I had a good time reading it all the way through. 4-star books are books that I would recommend to the right person. Once it's 4 stars and above, I would usually give a caveat where I would say, you should read this book if you liked these other books, or you should read this book if you liked these tropes, because it wasn't a perfect book for me, but it was definitely enjoyable, and I think that there are elements of it that would make it a perfect book for someone else. For me also, with a 4-star book, I have to enjoy both the writing style and the plot itself. I feel like if I only enjoyed one of the two, it usually ends up being a 3-star, but I really have to have both of those factors for me in order to give it a 4-star. And now finally, the 5-star category. I am not as picky, I feel like, as some other readers when it comes to 5 stars. I feel like a lot of people, I've heard people say that like a 5-star book is like a feeling, like you don't get the 5-star feeling with a book. And for me, I don't necessarily have to have that. For me, a 5-star is really a book where I have next to nothing that I could critique about it. I don't have to have a specific feeling or an emotion evoked as a result. I just have to have very, very few things that I would change or want to be different about the book. 5-star books I would also recommend to anyone. So if I've given a book 5 stars, it means that I would recommend anyone to read it. I think that anyone would enjoy it. 5-star books are the ones that I think about all the time. They're the books that I remember. They're the books that I will remember the character names and the plot, and I have a connection to the characters. They are also books. So I have my bookshelves behind me. I only typically will keep books if it's a 4 or 5-star. Anything else I will usually unhaul. But 5-star books are ones that I 100% want to keep. Also, I will say that if I end up reading a book from the library that I gave 5 stars, then I will try to get a copy of it for my collection. 5-star books are also the books that I would reread. I don't think I would necessarily reread a 4-star book, but if it's a 5-star book and I loved it that much, it definitely goes on the list of books that I would want to come around to again at some point in the future. And these are also the books that I just want to talk about to other people, whether that be a friend or a family member that I want to recommend it to them, or just chat about the book itself, or also come on here and talk to you guys about the book. So that's what a 5-star book is for me. Now, I do also want to slightly touch on the idea of a 6-star read. I feel like a lot of people refer to their 6-star reads as like the absolute top tier of your 5-star reads. It's like a step above just your average perfect read. And I definitely have 6-star reads that I would consider like a step above any other 5-star. For me, these are my favorite books of all time, that they are just perfection in every sense. These are the books that kind of define my reading taste, that make me a reader, and it's the feeling of finishing a 6-star read that makes you continue like chasing that feeling and wanting to keep finding your next favorite. So very, very few books make it to my 6-star reads. It has to be really special. I would say in a year, I probably find maybe 1 to 3 new 6-star favorites. And I read like 125 books a year. So, not very often that I find a new one, but when you do, it's like the best feeling. So that's it for this video. That's kind of my rating system. That's how I would classify or define each of the star ratings. I always find it interesting, especially when you scroll on Goodreads and you look at reviews. Some people will like give a book a 4-star rating and then absolutely tear it to shreds in their review. And also vice versa. They might give it like a 3-star, but then absolutely rave about it. So I feel like everybody has a different sort of system in their mind as to what qualifies as what star rating. So I thought I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about mine. Let me know in the comments, what do you feel about the ratings? Do you kind of agree with how I rate books, or if you have sort of a different outlook, definitely let me know. I'm always curious to hear about that. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, anything like that. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in another one very soon. Bye.